So, what day is it today?
Tuesday?
Wrong. It's NWA Day.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention, everyone. Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
Okay, let's party.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
Here we go.
Oh,
How about
there
now?
we
Can you
go.
hear me
Now I hear you.
now? Well, I did a great introduction. I don't care what anyone else says. Mike Mondo, very happy to have you on this show. I thought this pre-show was going to come to an end, but the folks over at the NWA have been very generous with their time and allowing some of the superstars of the NWA to hang out with us. Last week we had Wrecking Ball Legursky and, of course, our good friend Paul. And now today, you're here with us. And you're a talent that I've been wanting to speak to quite a bit. I've had a lot of people reach out to you, but I haven't been able to get you on. So I'm glad that I finally got a chance to speak with you because multiple reasons. One, that beautiful belt that's on your shoulder right there. You are the national champion. You represent the nation. And, you know, the NWA national title has had a lot of relevancy over the years, but I feel like you as national champion taking that title, you know, not just around the NWA territories, but all around the country, in different territories, different independent promotions. What does it mean to you to carry that national championship?
Oh God, it means the world to me. You know, I've been in the business now for 23 years, and there's been a lot of ups and downs, you know, and everything in between. And you know, when I won this title at NWA 77, when I beat Big Strong Mims, you know, it was a moment I'll never forget. You know, for many reasons. One, my first major singles title here in the NWA, and two, my family was in attendance because yeah, I was in Long Island, New York, and you know, that's where I'm originally from, so they were all there. And you know, this title means everything to me. You know, it's just the lineage behind it. You know, those that made a name for it, you know, from the get-go, guys like Dusty Rhodes, Ted DiBiase, Wildfire, Tommy Rich. I mean, I can go on and on with the names. And then fast forward to the Lightning One era, you know, guys like EC3, you know, Tom Latimer, Aaron Stevens, the manager of Champions, who manages me to this day, you know, carried on that tradition. And now I am your current NWA National Heavyweight Champion. And, you know, I just couldn't be more proud to hold it and represent it. And, you know, I don't plan on losing it anytime soon, but I'm going to make sure it's definitely well taken care of and it's, you know, passed on for the future, you know.
I was fortunate enough to speak to your tag team partner at the beginning of the year.
Slade. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was telling him, because I was in attendance for your Crockett Cup debut as a tag team, and I was so blown away by what you guys brought to the table. Now, you're both fantastic wrestlers. That's not even up for debate. I was blown away how quickly you guys gelled together in the ring. And me and my buddy were there watching it, and I'm like, I'm getting Steiner vibes right now. And I mean that in the best, most complimentative way I can.
Of course.
I mean, even the gear kind of was reminiscent of, you know, Scott and Rick from back in the day. And my question to you is, being that you have had success as a singles competitor and have had success as a tag team wrestler currently in the Crockett Cup, you guys had the big victory last week over the Southern Six. Tell me about the differences between being a tag team wrestler and a singles wrestler, and tell me about your partner Slade.
Oh gosh, well, that's a great question, because I would say, in 23 years of doing this, I have to say it was like 50-50. Half of my career, I've been a tag team wrestler, and probably the other half, a singles competitor. And it's really all about just that chemistry that you have with that person. And when it comes to Slade, we have that chemistry. We're very like-minded individuals. Not only inside the ring but outside the ring. In my opinion, I see a lot of Slade in myself when I was his age. The guy's extremely passionate. He's an extremely hard worker. And, I kind of look at him as like my little, like a mentor, to him. And, I know when someone's serious and that really wants this, and, I'm just doing the best I can to kind of pay it forward and give him all the knowledge that I've experienced, in the past to him. And, yeah, and I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I mean, every time he shows up to TV, he's in better shape. I can see the difference from the day one when I walked into NWA almost a year and a half ago, seeing where he was to where he is now. But I guess just to answer like the difference, is you really got to have that basically that chemistry with that other person. You really got to. It's two different types of matches: tag team wrestling and singles matches. And then as a singles competitor, it's just you in there. And you just got to be. I always make sure I'm over prepared. Every time I step through those ropes, I do my best to control what I can control to the best of my ability. And I just show up ready to play ball. Keeping myself in the best condition, the best shape possible, mentally prepared, physically prepared, emotionally prepared. And yeah, it's just pretty much all eyes on you.
Now, you've consistently been working since your time with the WWE, and I don't want to spend any time talking about that. I know that you've always been out there putting out the best effort you can, but what did it mean for you when you stepped into those Tampa studios for that first opportunity with the NWA and working with this, Billy Corgan's National Wrestling Alliance? What did that mean for you?
Oh, that meant the world to me. I've been such a huge fan of the NWA since I was a youngster, and I moved here to Tampa, Florida, and I was granted an opportunity, and that's what it was. It was an opportunity, and as they say, you only get one chance to make a first impression. So I get nervous before every match, regardless. I don't care if there's 30 people or 30,000 people in the crowd. So I had the butterflies in the stomach, but I made sure that I showed up ready to go, ready to impress. And and I was just going to take it one show at a time, and I showed up to the PBS studio, and I got in front of Billy, and I found out I was going to be on TV that night, and I had an interview earlier on. And it was just kind of I just doing this for 23 years. I can honestly say I probably had more failures than successes, but throughout those failures, I've grown and I've learned, and it's made me who the wrestler I am today. I was really blessed and grateful to have a lot of great trainers, and I got to be in the ring with a lot of legends and a lot of people that came before me, and really just to get that experience. And that's the key to getting good in this business, is experience and repetition. So it was that one chance to make a first impression. So I just combined everything right then and there, and it was, I gave it my all. And apparently it was a success, because later on that month I was booked for another show. And then I think I can honestly say, going forward, I was never not booked for a show that they had going forward. And then the snowball just kept rolling, because I think it was like, gosh, I don't know, 6-7 months later, I was offered an NWA contract, and then 2 or 3 months after that, here I am, standing your NWA National Heavyweight Champion. But the goals don't stop here, right? I still have goals, and I'm going to do the best I can to meet those goals. Dr. Tom, he always instilled in me from a long time ago, there's 3 types of people. There's those that say they do, there's those that say they will, and there's those that will do whatever it takes. And I'm the type of guy that just does whatever it takes.
I absolutely love it. That's like a killer's mentality. I mean, I don't think anyone can succeed in the business without that kind of mentality.
Mhm.
My next question for you is
Yeah.
the NWA roster is deep. I mean, there is talent everywhere you turn. And one of my bragging points when I try to tell people to watch the NWA is look at the roster that they have. Look at up and down that roster. There's so many good wrestlers. And I guess the question to you would be like, who are you looking out for? Because obviously, as the national champion, the national heavyweight champion of the world, let me get it correct. There's a bullseye on your back. Everybody wants a piece of that title because that title means that opportunities, even more opportunities, are going to be presented. Who are you looking out for? Who is somebody that you think could be a great challenge for the title that you're holding?
Well, see, that's a funny question because I like to kind of reverse that question a little bit. Is like, I feel like I'm the challenge here. Who's going to step up to me? And that's kind of how I look at it.
Sure.
I like you said, I have that killer mentality. Whatever it takes. And Billy Corgan gave me an opportunity, and I told him the other day, I mean. I want the ball, and I want the ball, and I want to run with it, and I'm going to score a touchdown. So it's like, I mean, it doesn't matter. It could be Alex Misery. It could be Brian Idol. Hell, it could be the heavyweight champion himself, Silas Mason. I got 9.5 pounds of gold here on this shoulder, and I wouldn't mind adding 10 pounds of gold on this shoulder. You do the math. That's 19.5 pounds of gold for Mike Mondo. So at the end of the day. I don't care who wants to step up to the plate, because if you want to play ball, just remember Mike Mondo plays 10 times harder. And that's how it is. Everyone that stepped in the ring with me found out the hard way exactly what I'm all about. I am a wrestling machine. I am the human gut checking machine. And, I take this very, very seriously every time I step through those ropes, because that ring is my sandbox and that's where I play. And, I will show you no rest. I will show you no mercy, because I have absolutely no fear. So, to answer the question, it's a very in depth roster. It's a very talented roster. However, there's two classes of people in the society and in the NWA. There's Mike Mondo, and then there's everybody else.
Damn. I love it. One of the things that I really respect about you, aside from your killer instincts in the ring, besides having, the national championship on your shoulder, besides having this great tag team, the Wrestling Machines, your branding is so on point. The gut check challenge. We see you on social media. You're literally doing dips with weight and the national championship around you. And I love it because you're proud to be the national champion. You
I
are.
am.
We see it. It's not. This isn't the belt that you have. Oh, I'm glad I have a title. No, you're proud to be the national champion, which means you're proud of the NWA, and that brand carries through when you're on social media making your content. And from a business mind, your brand is everything. You have to get out there. You're selling yourself. You're selling the gut check challenge. You're selling the ability to get in the ring and destroy people when you're in the ring there. How did you come up with the gut check challenge, and how did you materialize this brand, this front of who Mike Mondo is? How did you get to this and figure out a way to market yourself this way?
That's a great question, but I think the answer is it's honestly a simple answer. Is I don't go in there and try to pretend to be somebody. I don't
Right.
go in there and try to play a character, so to speak. What you see in there is real. It's who I am. I just turn up that volume times 1,000, maybe 10,000, if you've seen my actions as of late. But
Yeah.
I treat this business, it's like a sport. I treat this like a sport. And that's I have a lot. My passion is unbelievable when it comes to the sport of professional wrestling. I've been a fan of it since I was a kid. And I go in there with the mentality that it's real. Let every other match have the impression that it's not real. But when you see Mike Mondo, you're gonna know that his stuff's real, because he's legit. And that's exactly how I approach it every single time I step in that ring. So it's not a character that I'm playing. It's not a quote unquote gimmick. Mike Mondo is Mike Mondo, and yeah, that's just basically how I roll.
When you and Slade were paired together, how did that come about? Was it did the office say, "Hey, what do you guys think about working together?" Or did you seek him out? Did he seek you out? How did that partnership come into fruition?
Well, just from my knowledge, I think it was a pitch, and I think it probably stemmed from that we both had, we're both pretty jacked up and had the bodies, and that Slade was also, he's less experienced from me, so he maybe I was a guy that could have kind of help him grown, like a little bit faster. And I mean, he was a talented individual from the get go, but I think like he had the meat and potatoes. I was just able to give him the seasoning, if that makes sense, So and I think it was just fitting, and you know what, it was like timing was everything, and it was the Crockett Cup of last year, which is a tag team tournament. And that was a way for me and Slade to get in there as a tag team. And then, if you watch it back, I mean, you even hear on commentary, it looks like these guys have been tagging for years, and honestly, that was the first time we've ever tagged. So that's why I go back to that question. The difference between tag wrestling and singles wrestling is, to be a successful tag team wrestler, like you really got to have that chemistry with somebody. And me and Slade are very like-minded people. Again, not only inside but outside the ring. And we both have that fierce mentality that what we like to call that gut check mentality. And he's definitely a full-time gut checker as well. I am the OG gut checker. So yeah, it just made sense at the time.
And I was there front row. I was like, wow, that's such a unique pairing. Looks good. And then you guys did go in there and just beat the heck out of people. So it was fun to watch.
That's
And
what we do. Show no
sadly,
mercy. Yeah.
sadly, I wasn't able to make it to this year's Crockett Cup, but I have been watching on comment and where you guys were before. And of
Yeah.
course, there's a lot of great matches. Last week, you guys advanced against the Southern Six. That was the team that won it back in 2024.
Yeah.
And I mean, that has to be a bit of a bragging rights for you guys already because, for whatever you think of Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor, they were able to take that Crockett Cup trophy home for the Southern Six. And that's a big deal. I mean, it's a very big deal. They weren't able to capitalize on the success like others have in the past by winning the NWA World Tag Team titles, but being able to hold that trophy and cement their name on that list of tournament holders is huge. And you were able to beat them this year. Again, I know you're kind of living a dual lifestyle here, being the tag team specialist and a killer with the national title. But what does it mean to advance in the Crockett Cup by beating former tournament champion winners?
Oh yeah. I mean, we have that. Again, we speak it into existence. It's like we just have that positive mindset, Slade and myself, and that we were we were coming in and we're coming in to win. I mean, that's the bottom line at the end of the day. And I really respect Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor and everything that they've done in the NWA and everything that they continue to contribute in professional wrestling. So we knew that we had a challenge on our hands, and that we had to come in prepared. And then you had Ricky Morton there on the outside. I mean, need I say more, right? So to advance now to the semifinals, I mean, we just have to keep that mentality going. We got to keep training like the beasts that we are, because like I always say, I'm in beast mode 24/7. Add the number 365 just because, and that's how I roll, and I go in there and we train and we mentally prepare, we tape study, we do our research on the individuals who we're stepping in the ring with. And, whoever that tag team that wants to meet us in the semifinals, I mean, get ready because, as I always say, it's going to be gut check time. So we've learned a lot. I also want to say, we made it to, I want to say it was the quarterfinals last year, but we went back and we reviewed the tape, and we learned from our mistakes, where we see where we went wrong, we saw our strengths. And now that the 2026 Crocker Cup is here right now, which is actually on Comet, and which can be seen every Saturday now going forward at 4 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, we're going to show up, and it's going to be gut check time for whoever we go against in the semifinals, because we're going to win the whole thing.
And to add to that, it's been at least the last 2 episodes from Comet were also made available on their website that you can watch in demand after it airs, obviously on Saturday. So if you guys missed the first 2 episodes, one premiered on Friday, the other premiered on Saturday, you can go back and watch those now on the Comet website. I highly recommend it, because I was out of town. I wasn't able to watch, so I was able to watch them because of the app. And to me, that was a godsend, because otherwise I would have missed it. And I'm glad I got to check it out.
Yeah,
Now,
I just want to touch on that a little bit too. It's you can now, if first of all, we had a very successful weekend last week with the premiere on Friday, and then following the next episode on Saturday. And going forward, I mean, it's been since 1993 since NWA has been on broadcast television, and being on Comet now is huge for the NWA. I mean, Billy Corgan, he's a genius. I mean, his reputation speaks for itself. You can see what he did with the Smashing Pumpkins, building that band from the ground up to the phenomenon that it is today. And he's doing just that right now with the NWA. I always said in every interview, every podcast, and just the people that I talk to randomly, that I always felt there's no ceiling as far as how far the NWA can go. And this transition to Comet is just big things happening here in the NWA, and you don't want to miss it. So again, catch the program, NWA Power, every Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. If you do miss the episode, though, like you said, you can always watch it on demand. And that website that you're talking about is comettv.com/NWA. You can watch it anytime, day or night. And there's also other ways to watch it too. You can watch it on YouTube TV, Fubo TV, Hulu Live TV, and also Sling TV. So there's no excuse why you can't tune in to NWA Power, the hottest professional wrestling action today. And as I like to say, NWA brings back the wrestling in pro wrestling.
I mean, you just kind of killed it there. No wonder you're the champ. They can trust you to do these promos for. I mean, this should be on YouTube or something, because everyone should know. You just delivered it, signed, sealed, and delivered.
That's it. It's simple. So it's like there's you can watch it anywhere. So if you got a phone, an iPhone, which everyone should probably have a smartphone these days, right? You can just tune in and watch the program.
Yeah, I mean that's how I caught the Friday's episode, and then Saturday I just watched it on the computers. Let me ask you a question, because you're a fitness guy, and I've been trying to get back into fitness. Yeah. I've lost. I'm gonna brag a little bit. I've lost 50 pounds in the last 2 years. And I'm working hard. I'm not at your level, but I'm working on it. And post workout snack, what are you eating? What meal do you take?
Oh boy, that could be a podcast on its own. Okay, so in a nutshell, I understand, like, okay, first and foremost, I'm a professional wrestler, right?
Yeah.
However, I eat and train like a bodybuilder. I don't have my pro card or nothing like that. Yes, but I eat and train like a bodybuilder. I actually, I feel like I maxed out my self-knowledge in terms of like what I know, and I've been lifting since I was in middle school. So I've been lifting a long, long time. Before I was a pro wrestler, I was a football player, and ever since I got, pro wrestling, it's a cosmetic industry. I mean, you got to look the part, right? I'm not saying you got to go in that ring and look like Mr. Olympia, but you got to look like a viable threat, or look like someone that that can hang, and so I take my look very, very seriously, and I hired a nutritionist. I took some pictures at maybe a couple TVs ago. Actually, it was in Tampa, Florida. And, people, yeah, you look great. But, I'm my own worst critic, right? So,
sure.
I look in the mirror and I'm like, well, I could be tightened up here. I'm retaining water here, and, I was like, I feel like I needed to take it to that next level, because like I said, I take this opportunity with NWA very, very seriously. I'm grateful to be the NWA National Heavyweight Champion, and I got goals and to one day be the world's heavyweight champion. I mean that's a big check mark that needs to be checked off for me. And so I felt like that's what I needed to do. So I'm in like what you call a cutting phase right now. I eat 5 to 6 meals a day. I eat every two to 2.5 hours. But your question was post workout. So basically post workout, it's the only time I drink a protein shake throughout the day is immediately after my workout. The rest I get real food in me. It's better to get real food in as far as supplementation. Hence why they call the word supplement, because you're supplementing a meal that you can't get in at that particular time. And then after that I get, so I get my protein in, and then I have four rice cakes when I get home. And then 2 hours after that, 2.5 hours after that, I usually have my last meal of the day, which is 5 ounces of salmon, 200 grams of brown rice, and 100 grams of broccoli. And
Yeah,
so
I've been.
and that's just from the post workout on. But if you want to know about the other meals, I can gladly go into that too.
I'll reach out to you because I don't want to dominate the conversation about meal planning. I do. I do.
It's a lifestyle, though. It's a lifestyle,
It is.
So,
And I think even if you're not a bodybuilder and you're not trying to be wrestle ready on TV and look great, I mean, just changing some of your eating habits, I think helps out a lot for anybody who's just trying to be healthy.
absolutely. I mean, honestly, it's 85% of it's diet. I always believe you are what you eat. And
Right.
I could train like an animal 7 days a week, but if I eat McDonald's 7 days a week, then you're going to get those exact results. So, what you put in your body is very, very important.
Two more dieting questions, and then we'll move on. Real
Yeah.
quick, someone in the chat actually asked, "Do you ever take breaks from the gym, and if so, how long?"
That's a great question. So a lot of people think, that you grow and get stronger when you work out. However, it's the complete opposite. When you're working out, you're tearing up muscle fibers, right? And you're getting that blood flow in there, causing the muscles to expand, hence the pump. You grow and get stronger when you sleep, because that's when your body recovers, and the nutrition backs that up. So as far as my rest days, that's a good question, because it varies. Your body speaks to you without speaking to you verbally. So I'm the type of guy that just kind of listens to my body when I feel like I need a rest day. Sometimes it's one rest day, sometimes it's two rest days. I'll probably take a week off once a year, maybe twice, but mostly 9 times out of 10 it's once, just because I need that for my mental sanity. Go.
Yeah.
It's more than just physical for me. It's mentally, emotionally. Going to the gym, and it's me versus iron. And so sometimes it's a day a week, sometimes it's 2 days a week, sometimes I'll go 3 days on, one day off. You got to keep your body guessing, because if it gets used to the same routine over and over again, your body's very smart. It picks up on that. So like to keep my body guessing so I can get the most gains possible. But yeah, you just got to listen to your body.
And then I know meal prepping is so important, but do you do the cheat days, or do you ever have a guilty pleasure that you take in every once in a while?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, you have to, just for that mental sanity, number one. And number two, I don't do cheat days. I do a cheat meal, So, I kind of look at NWA as like, okay, so, speaking of which, the next show, Saturday, June 6th, Hard Time 6 in Atlanta, Georgia, center stage, which, by the way, you can get your tickets at nwaliveevents.com. So I look at those shows as like, quote unquote, my bodybuilding shows, right? And I work backwards, so it's like, okay, I can have a, cheat meal it's always once a week, but then like when I'm a certain frame out, I'm just really dialed in. It might be like 3 weeks with no cheat meals, just strict diet. Again, it just depends how the mirror looks. I never weigh myself on a scale. I use
Right.
the mirror as my scale,
Right.
and as long as I like what I see, and it's weird because like once you start getting those gains, once you start getting leaner or whatever your goals are, like you want more of it, you know. So
Right.
I don't eat for taste. I eat for fuel and function, you know. And in fact, I can care less how it tastes as long as I get the results that I want to get, you know. And
Right.
then and then without a doubt, like after the show, you know, the next day, that you know, me and my girlfriend will obviously I'll probably eat a whole pizza by myself, and you know, and then she can get her own food, you know.
Nice. Right.
No, but yeah. So yeah, it's once a week, but it's a cheat meal, not cheat day for me.
I understand that. So I know we have a limited amount of time, but I do want to ask you some questions about your
Yeah,
career because I feel everybody has a different story, right? And everybody has a different path that brought them into the wrestling business.
of
And
course.
some of us have been watching forever, and we talk about it on the internet. We have podcasts and live streams and all that cool stuff. And some of us go out and actually do it. But at the end of the day, we all started off as fans. And I'm curious as to the road, like how did you get here? At what age did little Mikey Mondo find pro wrestling, and who were the guys that you were watching when you first started watching pro wrestling?
Yeah, I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day, actually. So this is the truth. I know it may sound weird, but my first recollection, meaning like my first memory of pro wrestling, I was 4 years old, and I
Yeah.
remember sitting in my dad's lap on the floor, and Hulk Hogan was on. And it's a funny story actually. My dad's like, you know, and I remember apparently I was really into it, right? Because my dad goes, "Yeah, I got Hulk Hogan's tights," and you know, apparently I was really excited, you know, and I was a Hulkamaniac growing up, you know, and yeah, he's like, "Yeah, let me show you. I got Hulk Hogan's tights," you know. So he carried me into his room and he opened up his dresser drawer and you know, he picked me up and he goes, "You see right there, those are Hulk Hogan's tights." The reality was it was a checkered bathing suit, all different colors, just had like a little piece of yellow on it. I was expecting to see the full yellow, you know, but
Right.
yeah, but that was my first memory and recollection. And I like telling that story because you know, my family's are my biggest supporters. You know, my dad goes to all my shows that are within distance. You know, he lives in New York, so
Right. Right.
and I'm so grateful to have such a supporting family. But yeah, I would say, you know, and then like, you know, it was like just periodically growing up. But when I really first got into it, and honestly, that from that point on, I never ever stopped. Was gosh, I want to say it was '93 or it was WrestleMania 9. And from that point on, man, I was hooked. You know, me and my cousin and my brother, we would go to my aunt's house, and you know, we watch all the pay-per-views. And then when I got into high school, I met a buddy, and you know, like he was like my wrestling buddy, you know. And then he got me into WCW, and then you know, then it was ECW. But as terms of guys that I grew up idolizing, I was always a huge fan of Bret the Hitman Hart. And you know, it was like I was such a big fan to the point where it's like, do you remember the video game, the Royal Rumble for Sega Genesis and Super
Yeah.
Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like I was such a big fan of Bret Hart that it's like when I played the video game every time, I felt guilty if I didn't play as him, you know? So
Great.
yeah. It's like I want to try out these new guys, but man, I gotta be Bret Hart, you know? Like, so yeah. But yeah, he was my inspiration, you know, he was my idol, and I was always into the technical style of pro wrestling, you know. I mean, you know, I loved all forms of you know, wrestling's an art, right? And
Absolutely.
I just fell in love with wrestling. I always knew I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I just didn't know when. And you know, my whole story is very unique and how that came about. But again, that's could probably say for another podcast on that story. But yeah, Bret Hart was my guy.
I would love to pencil you in for an upcoming podcast episode because I have about 50 million questions I'd like to ask about how you got into it and all that good stuff. But we'll save that for another time because I know time is fleeting, I'm happy that I've got you on here for as long as I did. I do appreciate you stepping on.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
again,
man.
we are just a couple of. It's already May 5th. So we're literally 1 month away from
Hard
hard
times.
times
Hard Times
Center
6.
Stage in Atlanta,
Yeah.
which is to me one of the hallowed grounds of pro wrestling. I mean, I got
love
to go
that
there.
arena. I love it.
It's not an NWA. I'm sorry, let me say that differently. I went there when it wasn't an NWA event, but I still love that building. It was so, just walking in there, you could feel like the ghosts of, WCW and Jim Crockett Promotions and some of the other places that have been there. And it's been
the
such
energy.
And I feel that when we go to the 2300 arena, and I feel that, I'm a Southern California guy, so our Grand Olympic Auditorium, when I got to go there to watch wrestling, you just feel the history when you walk into that building. And I'm grateful that the NWA is taking advantage of these buildings that carry that history, because not only for you guys, and then also Poyle wanted us to point out too that the NWA has a house show the very next day in Augusta, Georgia, which I believe is June 7th. And again, those tickets are also available at nwaliveevents.com or nwawrestling.com. Check it out and make sure that you're supporting the product. Of course, Comet TV Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, and I think it's like 2 p.m. Central, and then I think we have the same time on the West Coast, 4 p.m. Mike, I appreciate your time so much. Best of luck to you in this Crockett Cup. Best of luck to you with the Federation of Champions, and I hope to see more gold around your shoulder the next time we speak. And,
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And again, for my fans out there, you can follow me on social media, my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, the Mike Mondo. Facebook is Mike Mondo. Follow me and keep after my career, because the human gut checking machine is on fire, and I'm going to continue to keep that flame as burning like a mother, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep growing, because at the end of the day, whether they like it or not, it's my time. It's Mondo time, and you better believe it's gut check time.
Thank you so much, Mike. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you having me.
See you soon. Mike Mondo. Look, first of all, shout out to Paul Pratt for setting that up for us. We thank the NWA office for setting that up for us. Appreciation for Mike Mondo for taking time to jump on with us today. That's a guy that I've wanted to talk to for probably ever since he got into the NWA about a year ago. Great story, great personality. And I feel like when I talk about the NWA and how deep that roster is, right? A lot of people are saying, well, what is the NWA all about? I'm like, watch a match. Go watch Mike Mondo. Go watch Spencer Slade. Go watch these guys throw on these great, fantastic matches. Go watch Thrillbilly Silas Mason. Go watch the Country Gentlemen. I mean, there's so much deep talent on the NWA roster. I can't say enough good things about it. I think that's going to do it for us this week. We're going to wrap it up here. But again, make sure, 4 p.m. Saturdays, Comet, check it out. If you've never seen the NWA before, now's the time to get on board. It's free. And when all the other wrestling promotions, you have to have a streaming service or you have to pay to watch. This is completely free to you to watch, and I can't recommend it enough. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Tuesday. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.